many times have you spoken and felt your words evaporate into nothing? How often have you entered a room only to realize you might as well be invisible? This pain is real. To be overlooked is to be denied something fundamentally human, the need to be seen, to be heard, to matter. And yet the loudest voices aren't always the most respected. The most aggressive presence doesn't always command genuine deference. Something else is at work here. Something the ancients understood that we've forgotten. There exists a kind of person who walks into any space and the atmosphere shifts, not through force, not through spectacle, through an inner architecture so solid, so unshakable that others cannot help but take notice. The tree doesn't beg the earth to hold its roots. The mountain doesn't petition the sky for its height. They simply are, complete, sufficient, undeniable. You've been seeking respect in the wrong places. You've been trying to extract from others what can only be generated from within. The philosophers of old knew a secret our age has buried beneath noise and desperation. Respect flows naturally from self-command, from discipline, from the quiet knowledge that you are answerable first to your own standards. What I offer you now is not a trick. There are no shortcuts to dignity. What I offer is a path, 7 principles that will transform you from someone who is overlooked into someone who is unmistakable, not because you'll shout louder, but because you'll stand firmer, not because you'll demand attention, but because you won't need it anymore. These habits are not comfortable. They'll ask you to abandon the very strategies keeping you invisible, your pleading, your resentment, your desperate calculations. They'll ask you to become someone who needs nothing from others because you have everything from yourself. The question isn't whether these principles work. They've worked for 2,000 years. The question is whether you have the strength to practice them as a way of life, as the very foundation of your character. Are you ready to stop being overlooked? Then stop looking outward for validation and begin the only work that matters, making yourself into someone worthy of your own respect. Do this, and the respect of others will follow as surely as shadow follows light. Let us begin. You know this feeling in your bones. You have lived it more times than you care to count. You prepare your thoughts carefully. You wait for the right moment, and then you speak. Your words enter the room and die there, met with blank stares or worse, with that particular kind of polite nodding that says your contribution has already been forgotten before you finished offering it. The conversation moves on as though you had said nothing at all, as though you are a ghost among the living, or perhaps it happens differently for you. You work late into the night on a project, pouring your energy and insight into something you believe matters. You present it with hope beating in your chest, only to watch it be dismissed with a casual wave of the hand. Then weeks later, sometimes days later, you sit in a meeting and hear your exact idea praised and implemented when it comes from someone else's mouth. And you say nothing because what can you say? To object would make you seem petty, small, grasping for credit you apparently do not deserve. This wound runs deeper than professional frustration. It touches something fundamental in what it means to be human. We are social creatures, built to exist in connection with others. And to be consistently overlooked is to be told that we do not quite belong, that our presence is optional, that the room would be no different, perhaps better, without us in it. You have tried to solve this problem. Of course you have. You have read the books on confidence and charisma. You have practiced power poses in bathroom mirrors. You have forced yourself to speak up more, to take up more space, to perform the behaviors you have observed in those who seem to command effortless respect. And perhaps these tactics worked for a moment, gave you a brief flash of visibility, but they did not last, did they? Because performance is exhausting, and people can sense when you are acting rather than being. The pain of invisibility creates a desperate hunger. You begin to measure your worth by whether others notice you, validate you, acknowledge your existence. This hunger makes you smaller, not larger. It turns you into someone who needs the room rather than someone the room needs. And this is the trap that keeps you overlooked. Not your lack of talent or intelligence or worthiness, but your orientation toward seeking respect from outside yourself, rather than building it from within. There is a strange truth about respect that most people never grasp, and their ignorance of it dooms them to forever chasing what they can never catch. Watch carefully the people who command genuine respect in any room they enter. Not the loud ones, not the ones who announce their importance, but those who possess a quiet authority that makes others lean forward when they speak. What you will notice is that they seem almost indifferent to whether you respect them or not. They are not performing for your approval. They are simply present, fully themselves, and somehow this very independence from your judgment is precisely what compels it. This is the paradox. The more desperately you seek respect, the more certainly it evades you. The less you need it, the more freely it flows toward you. It is like trying to grab water with a clenched fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes between your fingers. Only when you open your hand does it rest in your palm. I have watched this pattern repeat itself countless times across every arena of human life. The leader who constantly reminds others of his authority has none. The expert who must proclaim her credentials with every breath reveals her insecurity about them. The person who demands to be taken seriously is the very one no one takes seriously. They are all making the same fundamental error. They believe respect is something external that can be seized or demanded, when in truth it is something internal that radiates outward as a consequence of who you are. Think of the most respected people you have known personally. Not celebrities or distant figures, but real people in your actual life. What made them command your respect? I would wager it was not their titles or their declarations about themselves. It was something else entirely. Perhaps it was the way they remained calm when others panicked. Perhaps it was how they kept their word even when it cost them something. Perhaps it was their refusal to speak poorly of others behind their backs, or the way they admitted their mistakes without excuse or deflection. Perhaps it was simply that they seemed solid, reliable, real in a world of pretense and performance. These people had discovered something essential. They had learned to build their lives on internal standards rather than external validation. They cared more about being worthy of respect than about whether they received it. And this orientation, this fundamental shift in where they placed their attention and effort, changed everything about how others perceived them. We live in an age that would have been unimaginable to those who walked the earth 2,000 years ago. We carry in our pockets devices that connect us to the entire world, yet we have never felt more disconnected. We have more ways to be seen than any generation in human history, yet we have never felt more invisible. We broadcast our lives to audiences of hundreds or thousands, carefully curating images of success and happiness, desperately counting the small validations that come in the form of hearts and thumbs, and still we lie awake at night feeling unseen, unheard, fundamentally alone. The tools have changed, but the human heart has not. The struggle for dignity, for respect, for a sense that our existence matters, this struggle is as old as consciousness itself. And there were people in the ancient world who grappled with these same questions, who faced the same temptations toward performance and pretense, who felt the same ache of being overlooked. Despite living in a world without social media or corporate hierarchies or any of our modern machinery of status, what they discovered, through hard experience and careful reflection, was a set of practices that freed them from the tyranny of other people's opinions. They learned to build an inner fortress, a place of strength and clarity that no external circumstance could touch. They developed habits of thought and action that made them resilient in the face of disrespect, unshakable in their sense of self-worth, commanding in their presence not through force but through genuine substance. These were not philosophers hiding in comfortable libraries, spinning pretty theories about how life should be lived. Many of them stood in the heart of power, making decisions that affected thousands or millions of lives. Others faced genuine persecution, exile, even death for their principles. They tested their ideas against reality's hardest edges and found that they held. The wisdom they left behind is not abstract or idealistic. It is practical, battle-tested, proven across centuries and cultures. And here's what makes this ancient philosophy so powerful for our current moment. It does not ask you to change your circumstances. It does not require you to find a different job or move to a different city or wait until you have achieved some arbitrary level of success. It asks only that you change how you relate to your circumstances, how you govern your own mind and actions regardless of what swirls around you. This is wisdom you can begin applying today, right now. In whatever situation you currently occupy, there is a man whose name would be recognized across the world even now. Nearly 2 millennia after his death, he held power that most can scarcely imagine, ruling over an empire that stretched from the cold forests of Britain to the sun-scorched deserts of North Africa. Armies moved at his command. The fates of millions rested on his decisions. He could have had anything, done anything, crushed anyone who displeased him with a mere gesture. Yet what he chose to do in his private moments reveals something profound about the nature of true authority. He wrote to himself, not proclamations or propaganda, not histories meant to glorify his reign, but honest reflections on his own failings and struggles. He reminded himself daily that his position meant nothing, that his purple robes were just fabric, that the cheering crowds would forget him as surely as they had forgotten those who came before. He practiced seeing himself clearly, without the distortions of flattery or fear that surrounded him constantly. And in doing so, He became someone genuinely worthy of the respect that was given to him, not because of his title, but because of his character. This is the secret that those who command natural respect have always known. The path to external authority runs directly through internal authority. Before you can govern others effectively, you must learn to govern yourself. Before you can earn genuine respect from the world, you must become someone you yourself can respect. This is not a metaphor or a pleasant sentiment. It is a practical reality that plays out in every interaction you have. When you have done the work of mastering your own impulses, of aligning your actions with your values, of building genuine competence and character, something shifts in how you move through the world. You stop seeking permission. You stop waiting for validation. You stop performing for an audience. Instead, you simply act from a place of inner clarity and strength. And people feel this difference immediately. Even if they cannot articulate what has changed, the transformation from someone who seeks respect to someone who commands it is not about learning tricks or techniques. It is about building a foundation so solid within yourself that external circumstances cannot shake it. It is about becoming someone who knows their own worth, not because others have confirmed it, but because you have proven it to yourself through your own discipline and integrity. This is what separates those who must constantly fight for respect from those to whom it flows naturally. And inevitably, the world has taught you to look outward for permission to exist fully. From your earliest days, you learned to measure yourself by the reactions of others. Did your parents approve? Did your teachers praise you? Did your peers accept you? This pattern continues into adulthood, taking on new forms but maintaining the same fundamental orientation. You check how many people liked your post, how your boss reacted to your presentation, whether you were invited to the important meeting, whether anyone noticed the extra effort you put in. You have made other people's recognition the currency of your self-worth. And this has left you perpetually bankrupt. But there is another way to live, one that requires courage but offers something far more valuable than the fleeting approval of others. It asks you to become your own authority, not in the sense of arrogance or isolation, not by pretending you need no one and nothing, but by building your foundation on something that cannot be taken from you, your own standards, your own principles, your own clear-eyed assessment of whether you are living with integrity and purpose. When you derive your sense of worth from within, when you answer first to your own conscience rather than to the crowd, something remarkable happens. The opinions of others lose their power to destabilize you. Criticism can be examined for truth without destroying you. Praise can be received with gratitude without inflating you. You become steady, consistent, reliable, because you are no longer being blown about by every wind of judgment and reaction. And this steadiness, this groundedness, is precisely what makes people trust you and respect you. This is not a call to ignore feedback or dismiss the perspectives of others. Wisdom often comes from outside ourselves, and only fools refuse to learn from those around them. But there is a profound difference between considering the input of others and being enslaved by their approval. One is strength, the other is weakness. One allows you to grow, the other keeps you small and reactive. The 7 habits we will explore together are all variations on this central theme. They are practices that shift your center of gravity from external to internal, that help you build a life based on character rather than performance, substance rather than image. Each one is simple to understand but demands real effort to embody. Each one will challenge you to question patterns you have carried for years, perhaps for your entire life. And each one, practiced with sincerity and consistency, will move you closer to becoming someone who commands respect not by demanding it, but by deserving it.